What's up, everybody? Time for another episode of Respect Her Game. I'm Laura Stickells. Annabelle Hasselbeck joins me yet again. We're having you on a lot, which is awesome. And we're going to have Courtney Taylor, actually one of your former teammates, joining the show here in just about 10 minutes. She's literally going to join live. So a very high-tech transition that we're going to have going on in a couple seconds here. But she was also part of that U.S. women's box lacrosse team that won the world championship last weekend. So I'm really excited to talk to her, learn more about the sport of box lacrosse, especially because obviously you know it. I know nothing about it. So I'm really looking forward to learning about that and getting to meet one of your former teammates.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's fun because she's one of my good friends. And when Courtney came to BC Lacrosse, she transferred in from Temple for her last season. And immediately it was like, okay, this girl is someone I need to be friends with. She is so awesome. So super excited and pumped for people to get to meet her.
How have you been? I know we came coming into the studio hot today, but how are you doing?
I've been good. I'm good. My mom is visiting from Nashville, Tennessee this week, so I get to spend some time with her. Went on a little walk together the other day, and it's just so beautiful out. Boston in the fall is like the nicest place. I was on the phone with my little brother Henry, who goes to school out in LA, as you know, Callie, and he was like, I will say the weather here is really nice, but the leaves aren't changing colors, and I'm kind of sad about it. So I will say to my brother Henry, come back to Boston sometime soon because it is so beautiful.
Yes. I haven't spent a lot of time in LA, but I do know that they change in NorCal or in the Bay Area, around November, I would say. So I hope that's the same. I hope that's the same in LA. No, I am doing well as well. A little bit of a stressful week, I would say, just because I cannot believe it, but the college hockey season already started. It started last weekend. My first game is this weekend, so it's just like getting back into the routine.
Who do you have this weekend?
Northeastern Stonehill at
Very
Northeastern.
Fun.
So it's getting back into that routine of like reconnecting with all the SIDs, reconnecting with the coaches, and getting back in the swing of like covering a new team every single week. Or 4 new teams every single week, whatever it is, but depending on how many games you have. So getting back into the swing of that. And then I also recorded a Ness and Diggs episode.
Yes, I want to talk about it.
I think I'm still exhausted, actually, from this experience. So obviously, with it being rowing, you have to do this at the crack of dawn, first thing in the morning. The alarms that I set to get up for Ness and Diggs were literally the alarms that I used to set for rowing in college. I have like rowing emojis next to the ones that I used to set in college.
You still have them on your phone?
I have like hundreds of alarms on my phone.
We should clean those out. That way
no, I use them all.
I use them all.
Anyways, but I still had I had 3 that I would set back to back, and I was like, I'm literally setting these same alarms again. Granted, I actually got there after they had just finished practice, but you want to get ready. And
so they finished practice. You're saying these are alarms. What time was their practice?
I believe they said their practice started at 5:40, I want to say. I know or maybe they said 6. I cannot recall exactly, but I know that my alarms, I believe I set for 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's
early. 5:05. And then you're on the water by 6. And I think that was kind of the similar routine that they were following as well. But it was, yes, here I am doing the Diggs tour. It was so much fun just to be back in a rowing environment again, to be back in a boathouse, get to talk to these women and hear about their experience as rowers and really get to connect with them. Also just hearing their passion for the sport too. I remember, one question I asked on the tour was rowing is known for being just an absolutely brutal sport. So why do you guys do it? And they were like, it is brutal. It is really painful a lot of the time, but truly the connections you form with your teammates through that is it's nothing else. And I'm like, yep, nothing brings you together like the 2x6K, does it? So it was so fun to get to be there. The Charles River is beautiful, and that boathouse is beautiful as well. So Head of the Charles is coming up next weekend, and yeah, not this weekend, the following weekend. And that's always such a special time of year because it's when like as a rower, it's the one time of the year where you feel like you are the center of attention. Like that's what the world,
it's kind of true though.
Revolves around that weekend is the head of the Charles. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think hopefully I'll have some teammates coming to Boston too at that time.
When you were in that boathouse doing that with them, did you have any flashbacks to your college days?
You know what I'll say is like I feel like this was the first time when I was back in a boathouse and I didn't like feel an urge or like a pang of like, ooh, like I just really miss this.
Oh, so you didn't miss it.
This was like the first time I was like, you know what, like I'm 6 years removed from it now, which is hard to believe, but like 2 or 3 years ago, I think I really missed it. Like I really missed the team, and like I do miss the team, like I miss those girls, but I feel like I'm at a different place in my life at this point where like I look back at it more, I'm like, oh, that's like a really fond memory, and not like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have this void in my life where I'm like not rowing anymore. But yeah, when I walked in, I was talking with one of the girls, and she was like, oh, like do you miss rowing? And I was like, you know, that's a really good question. You know, nothing compares to the feeling you have after a row, or like the feeling you get after you PR, just like that feeling of accomplishment. But there's a lot of things that I don't miss about it at the same time. I think like it's easy to, especially right afterwards, it's easy to like miss that camaraderie and that feeling of being a part of something, but there's like hard parts of it too. Like you're in pain a lot of the time, and it's just like even like walking to class, it's like, ooh, like my body just like hurts, and it's nice. Like sometimes you look back on that with fondness, like, oh, you know, I miss that, but it's like in that moment, no, I think I really was actually in pain. Or like even the 5 a.m. wake ups, like, you know, I never was a morning person, and I don't miss that, and it's just like it is pretty exhausting.
Yeah, but that probably prepared you for times when you're gonna have to go to games and get up early. And even when you just did that interview, right, you kind of have that past. And I've even noticed this for me from playing a college sport, when there were really hard moments on and off the field. Now in my life post, you know, college athletics, I can be like, okay, well, I did that. I got up for a 5 a.m. workout, or I had to do this really hard game plan, or I had a really hard travel week, right? And so it kind of prepares you for life, and that's the cool thing about college athletics, which those girls are in the thick of it right now, especially preparing for this upcoming season and all the things. But what stood out to you most from your trip to Northeastern?
Ooh, I would just say, like, honestly, the group of girls there. They had such a great group, especially the ones that took me on the tour. Clearly had so much energy and were so enthusiastic, really, to just like have a camera person there and have a tour going on. And you know, I work a lot with men's college hockey players who are awesome, but they don't I would say that these girls completely blew them out of the water when it comes to enthusiasm and excitement to have me there and have me interviewing them. So that definitely stood out. And yeah, I would say also just how good that team is. There's something that they said, they've won the past 9 conference championships. And
wow.
Yeah, so they've won the past 9 conference championships, but they haven't won anything in the past 9 years, I believe, at NCAAs. And I was asking them about their conference championships, and they're like, yes, like we want to win the, like, it's nice that we've won the conference, but like our goal is beyond that. We want to, you know, do well at NCAAs. And I was like, yeah, no, it totally makes sense. It's like the conference championships are great, although they're not the ultimate goal, but they are a product of the process. It's like, you know, winning your conference championship gets you to those NCAAs. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can stitch those videos together when they win and do really well at NCAAs, and then the interview that you did with them at the boathouse. Yes. That'd be really cool.
The other thing I'll say that stuck out to me as well, being somebody that rowed in California where you got to row year round, was just like the different things that they need and use to stay warm when they're rowing in the like early spring and late fall. I think they're called pogies, I want to say, that they use to, like, they're like gloves that you put on your oar and then you put your hands in them, because you can't like wear gloves and like grab an oar.
That's like illegal.
Well, you just like, you need to be able to like roll the oar in your fingers, basically.
Okay.
Like, you just wouldn't be able
to
do it.
And those don't exist, like gripped gloves?
Well, it's just not right.
This is from a California girl saying this.
Well, it's just not right. But nobody rows in gloves. Like, even out
here,
it's just,
but
like,
it's cold.
But you need to be able to, like, the way that you, like, I don't know. That's a good point. Like,
we're gonna get Laura on a demonstration on the water one of these days
to like explain like how you have to like feather your blade and everything. But it just isn't done. I'll just say that it's
feather your blade. I'm learning new things all about rowing. This is perfect.
It's not a thing. Anyways, so they have these like pokies which you put on the oar handle and then you put your hands in them. So it's sort of like a glove, but not really.
Well, you know what? That does show the differences between rowing on the West Coast and the East Coast. Those are things, though, like even for like baseball teams, softball teams, they have to travel to Florida, missing a lot of school in the spring to prepare for their season and even those early games in the season. So weather is a real thing in college athletics.
No, I mean, typically rowers over the winter, they actually fly down to Florida and they train there for their winter break and their winter training because you can't row in the Charles when it's frozen. No. So anyways, it was fun to get to talk to them. And they showed me all of their winter equipment. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad I rowed in California and not out here. Although rowing on the Charles is really special. I mean, there's not a lot of rivers or bodies of water like that out there.
So good. Well, I loved learning more about the rowing and all the things. So we'll have to be Northeastern fans now. So thanks for doing that interview for us. Super excited to see when it comes out. But I'm so excited to welcome on a world champion professional women's lacrosse player, Team USA, my former teammate, Courtney Taylor. Courtney, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Courtney, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Laura. I am Annabelle's co-host, and I cannot wait to learn more about box lacrosse today.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
So great. Courtney, where are you right now? I think you're in New York.
I am in New York. I'm doing a little summit, 3-day summit for something called The Post, which is a bunch of former athletes, so it's an awesome time here. Just getting to meet everyone and hear their experiences.
That's so cool. You have had some crazy cool experiences just in the last couple of years of your life, just seeing you in person and following along with you on social media. But I would love to talk about the box championship, just initial feelings. How are you feeling coming off of that gold medal?
Oh, I mean, the feeling is kind of indescribable. It is so awesome to be a gold medalist, a world champion, but to also be the first ever women's team to do that is just truly an amazing feeling.
Yeah, what's it like being part of history and actually being that first team to be able to compete in an event like this? Looking back, now that you've had time to reflect, what's it like being that part of that history?
I think it is a really cool experience just to be able to be the first and now be able to help teach the next generations how to play box lacrosse, what it's about, and kind of just be the trailblazers for the next generation of the game.
Courtney, you said Team One in your Instagram caption, and I can imagine that that was something that you guys were rallying behind, maybe a phrase that you were using. Can you just unpack what Team One meant to this group?
Team One was kind of from the beginning of the tryout stages. This is Team One. This is the first team to ever do it. And we're also one group, one unit. So just being that Team One was a special saying every time we cheered or every time you just thought of something. It's Team One. It's not, me on the team or the coaches. It's Team One. Everyone's a part of the same thing, and everyone's the first person to do this and create history.
Who came up with that?
Probably Coach Cap, I would have to imagine. Just the first tryout I went to, it was just Team One, and so kind of just bought into it from there.
What was the tryout process like for you guys?
So it was very interesting because obviously a lot of people in the U.S. are field players. We all had to go to a tryout at some point, probably a year to 2 years ago. Some of them were in New York, some of them were in Philly, Baltimore, I think. So you just showed up, and it was kind of the first time you ever played with your pads on, and there was a ton of people there just trying to learn the sport. So it was really challenging. I don't think I have ever sweat so much in my life after that tryout. But it was a really, really cool opportunity, and it kind of just made me realize this is a whole different way of lacrosse, and it was incredible.
It really is, Courtney, and I love that you said you're like, I've never sweat so much, because you've played in some intense lacrosse games. You've probably had intense tryouts just with the U.S. team regardless, and professional lacrosse over the summer. What was the hardest part for you? Was it having to run with pads on, having a heavy helmet on? Was it taking a hit? I know you're a defender, so that's not something you're afraid of, but what was the hardest part about the transition from field lacrosse to box lacrosse for you?
I think, like you said, it's the playing with the pads, the helmet, the stick, but all of those things you kind of get used to after a couple minutes. But the whole idea of it is it's just a totally different game. I had never played ice hockey, but I watch it a lot, and it was pretty much ice hockey, but with a lacrosse stick. And so learning completely different rules and the way you sub on and off the field and kind of the positions. It took a lot of learning to understand how box lacrosse worked, what every position meant, and just kind of what your role was on the field. Where in field, it's been something we've done our whole lives, so you just know it, and it is natural to you, but this was not natural, especially being a little bit older, and not having ever played it before.
Okay, I like that you described it as ice hockey with a lacrosse stick. I cover a lot of hockey, so I'm like, okay, at least that's something I'm familiar with. But how would you describe, like, what is box lacrosse really for people that have no idea?
It's an indoor version of lacrosse. It's primarily played in Canada, but now in Boston, or there's teams in Boston, and I guess there's leagues in Boston, but then there's the NLL for the men's, and it's in a rink with turf. The nets are really small. It's hard to score, and the goalies wear a ton of pads. And yeah, it's 5v5. It's really fast paced. So
It's very different, and like you said, the nets are very small. But you did say, it's started in Canada, right? That's where it's normally played. And I actually got the chance to play a little bit of box lacrosse in Canada, and I picked up so many little skills and just like nuances from the Canadian players that I would have never known playing lacrosse in the United States. What did you learn from the Canadian players, and what did you learn from watching them play over this journey of box lacrosse?
yeah, Canada is super talented. They all grew up playing it, so I think we were kind of watching them just throughout the tournament. They really brought the physicality. They knew that it's not field lacrosse where you can't hit, you can really hit. So just being prepared for that from them, and then their stick skills is just, again, something in box lacrosse, where stick skills are really important, and are you just have to have really good stick skills, and the Canadians have amazing stick skills. So that was one thing that I wanted to take from them.
That's good. What did you have to get on the wall more? How did you increase your stick skills? We got Courtney Taylor's stick skill routine. What's it gonna be?
Probably just wall ball. And although I'm not as much of an attacking player, I do like to just go to the field and shoot. I feel like I just play around with my stick a lot more when I'm on a field rather than at a wall.
That's so good. I remember you, me, and my sister Mallory, who's an attacker, were doing 1v1s a couple years ago at Wellesley Middle School outside on the turf out there.
Yep.
And I think I needed to play some defensive reps, and so you were like, sure, I'll play attack. I think you scored a few on me, so you are a good attacker. Don't sell yourself short.
Thanks, Annabelle.
What was it like getting to actually play Canada in the championship?
That was probably the most challenging game that I've ever been a part of. It was also an awesome environment because, again, it's in a rink, so it's indoor, so the fans are right there. It's so loud. And getting to play against the Canadians, who it's their national sport, was a crazy, crazy atmosphere. It was an awesome game, and so intense, and just so physical. I had such a good time.
Courtney, you mentioned to me earlier last week, you're saying, hey, there were a lot of great moments in that championship weekend, but it was really a moment that I had with the Netherlands, some of the players from the Netherlands, that really stuck out to me. Could you just elaborate on what that moment was?
Yeah, so it's, lacrosse isn't as big in other countries, and they all have to fundraise to come over to play us. And obviously they don't have as many resources to be as talented as we do here. And they were so happy to play us. And the one after the game, after we played the Netherlands, the captain spoke to us and she said, you're the girls we aspire to be, we look up to, you're the girls we watch on TV, and we're just so thankful to be here to play you guys. And I think that was a really special moment. It kind of gave me my why I'm doing this. It's just awesome to grow the game and to inspire other people.
Well, I love that you bring up the why of, why you're doing this. You said you use it to inspire, but why else are you still playing?
I love it. I love playing. I can't sit still, so I need some way to keep me active. And I love getting out on the field, and I love being with my teammates. There's nothing better than stepping on the field with your teammates, and just so many laughs, so many memories, and so much fun.
Okay, I want to jump back really quick, though, to that Canada Championship game. What's the moment that really sticks out to you in that game is like, we got this, like, we're gonna win this first World Championship?
So I guess when it was halftime, we kind of went into the locker room. I don't even know. I kind of blacked out during the whole game, but I don't know if we were down or tied at halftime. But just us going into the locker room and all sitting there, and everyone just had a great piece of advice to how we were going to win. And it was kind of in that moment that I had no doubt that we weren't going to let this moment get past us.
What were some of those pieces of advice that people were saying?
It was kind of strategic. I honestly don't fully remember, but it kind of was like, more sub-box stuff, because that's a whole new issue whole new aspect to the game is when to get off so you can get your defenders on so we don't get breakaways, some stuff like that, and more just motivation, like, we got this, we're going to use our strength and our athleticism, and we're going to come out on top.
What do you think it says about the future of lacrosse in the United States, considering the fact that you were able to beat Canada, which is like the global powerhouse in this sport?
I think just anything's possible. You just got to work really hard, and things will come and work out in your favor if you put the time in. And I think the future of the sport is going to be so awesome. There's people raving about watching the game and saying this is the best game we've ever watched. And it was so fast. We hope there's a women's league at some point. So it was really, really cool.
Courtney, you mentioned how fast it is and that the importance of getting in and out of the sub box. And this is a really high intensity sport with cardio, right? You said you'd put a lot of hard work in. What did you do off the field or off the arena court to get in the right shape for box lacrosse? Because it is different from playing full field, being a defender, lacrosse over the summer. What did you do to cross train, or how did you change up your workouts to be able to tailor yourself perfectly to win a championship in box?
Yeah. So actually this winter, Charlotte and I played in the Boston box men's league. So I think that really helped us get to understand what kind of shape we needed to be in. And then throughout the summer, we would go to the field and do box drills, just a little bit different, quicker, shorter. And then we had a bunch of training camps too. So at every training camp, we'd play games after games, and that really helped us, I think, especially when we went into the tournament and were playing back-to-back games for 4 days straight.
What was it like training in that men's league?
Oh, man, that was a crazy experience. Charlie and I showed up, and there was grown men and we looked at each other, we're like, are we sure we're at the right spot? Is this really what we're playing in? And then the guys were super nice and were so excited to have us on the team. And they were so helpful because they've played for so long, and a lot of them played for so long, and a lot of them played college lacrosse. And so they gave us, and in the winters and summers, they would play box. And they gave us so many tips, just little things to try and help our game. And I think that was really awesome.
Have any of them reached out to you since your championship win?
Yeah, I did get a couple on my Instagram, which was really, really nice.
I love that, Courtney. That is so cool. And it really just shows your ability to adapt and do anything to put yourself in your country in the best position to succeed in this new game, really, because box is it's lacrosse, but it's different, like you said. And that's really cool. And I think it's great advice for younger athletes and especially younger lacrosse players, because box is now becoming more of a thing. You guys just fully paved the way and said, yes, we're the U.S., we can do this. And so it's really showing these younger athletes, hey, if you want to take your game to the next level and try new things, you have to find ways to adapt. You might have to go play in a grown men's box league. Was there ever a moment in one of those games where you're like, I just got hit really hard?
Yeah, almost probably every play after. And I guess someone had followed through with their stick, and, in the moment you don't really realize. And I had an outline of a stick on my leg. I was like, yeah, this kind of hurts, but it was fun. So it was worth it. But I feel like then I got to the tournament and all the girls hit really hard too. So it prepared me for that, I think, which was really nice.
I love what Annabelle said about, like, do whatever it takes, go to whatever lengths to be able to learn this new sport. And I know that it wasn't an entirely new sport for you, considering the fact that you played field lacrosse. But for somebody that's, like, a little bit older, maybe they just graduated from college where they were an athlete and they're looking to try to continue their athletic career, but they might have to do it in a different way. How would you, like, what's some advice that you might give to them for how, like, to start a new sport, or if they're trying to figure something else out?
Yeah, I think work really hard, and if you're an athlete, you have that growth mindset where you can do anything and you're always willing to learn and try new things. So just keep that mindset and work as hard as you can, because it's possible.
You know it is, and you've proved it, Courtney. Courtney, last question. What's next for you? You're coming off a gold medal. You got work things going on, but what's next for CT Courtney Taylor?
Oh, what's next? So back to work, unfortunately. Can't play lacrosse forever, even though I wish I could. No, but I'm excited to be back at work and really grow my career in the business world. I think it's a totally different mindset, but I think everything that I did do in lacrosse helps me in my work. So I'm really excited to take back everything that I've learned over the past couple weeks, bring it to work. And then for lacrosse, I don't know, kind of on pause for right now, letting my body recover, and we'll see from there.
Well, I've got one more for you. You said there's some things that you've learned at lacrosse that you want to bring back to work. What are some of those skills that you learned from playing box lacrosse over the past couple of years that you do want to bring back and apply to the rest of your life?
I think in general, box specifically is you have to work really hard to get to learn a new, industry or something. I guess you could say industry. So for me, I work in construction. I have never, ever knew anything about construction at all, but I've learned so much. And I feel like just going to the first box lacrosse tryout, I was like, I don't know anything at all, but you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And then to see how far it took me after that. And, in the moment, it's not always easy to see where you are going to be in the future, but to get to that moment in the box championship and win kind of made me look back and say, I don't know anything. I didn't know anything about how when I started work, but look how far I've come and look how far I can go in the future. And just that growth mindset again.
Courtney, that is so impressive, and I really hope some young athletes are able to listen to this because they can really see how you have thrived, and you are going to thrive in your work environment and all the things you have going on, and regardless of whether it's lacrosse or construction or anything else that you come across, you are such a hard worker, and I was completely honored to be your teammate, so thank you so much for joining us today on Respect Her Game. It was so fun to have you.
Thank you, guys. It was awesome chatting. I'll talk to you guys soon.
That was so fun for me to get to talk to my former teammate, Courtney Taylor, and I'm glad you got to meet her as well. This was one of my good friends while I was at Boston College, so fun for us to talk to her today.
Oh, completely. And I was actually stunned when she was like, yeah, when I went to the tryout for box lacrosse, it was her first time playing the sport. It's like, wow, like that is really impressive to be able to pick something up like that. Like I know it's kind of related obviously to field lacrosse, but even still, like that's so impressive.
Mm-hmm. And the coolest part about box lacrosse too is that obviously in the US, field lacrosse is the main thing here. And so those women and those girls too who have gone and played box lacrosse, that is going to help them so much on the field game. It's like, stay away from Courtney Taylor, Charlotte North, those girls, because when they get to the field, they're going to be faster, they're going to be better conditioned, more physical. Their shot placement is going to be better because those box lacrosse nets are so small. So you really have to have crazy precision, crazy deception on your shot. So just cool for how box lacrosse is changing the game in a general lacrosse sense, but also elevating lacrosse back here in the U.S.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up. It reminds me back even when I was at Stanford and I was covering the women's volleyball team and they would play beach volleyball in the spring, and they would say like how their beach volleyball, like the skills that they gain playing beach volleyball would translate to the court too. It's like doing a sport, and obviously like especially when you're growing up, it's important to play a variety of sports, but if you can continue to like play a sport that's basically your sport but related to it, like box lacrosse is to field lacrosse and beach volleyball is to indoor volleyball, like those things pay dividends. I really do think. Or
even just pick up basketball with your little brother.
Yes, exactly.
That helped me a lot.
You're probably your little brother, which isn't very little.
I mean, there became a point when he just got physically bigger than me, and I literally could not get by him. Like, yes. I would be like, we can't do this. We got to play pig. We got to play horse. Because you're too athletic, you're too strong, I can't get by you. So it is helpful to put yourself in different situations as an athlete, and Courtney just shared some awesome advice.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your brother, who is currently a college football player, I know that you were dialed into college football over the weekend. I was dialed into college football over the weekend as well, because this was probably like one of the craziest weekends in college football history. This is going to go down as the Week 5 massacre, I think, because
that's a deep statement.
4 teams ranked in the top 11 losing to unranked opponents. It was like truly like teams are like dropping like flies, and if it wasn't a 12-team college football playoff this season, I mean, those teams would be out of luck. Let me just say that. But we should have known we were in for a good day of college football when it started with game day at Cal. And I love what Pat McAfee actually said in the beginning of game day, because he was saying like, oh man, like I didn't know how the Cal students were going to turn out. I didn't think if there was going to be a crowd here. I didn't know if you guys even liked football out here on the West Coast.
Which is careful, because when you say that, people are going to be coming full force.
Oh my gosh, it was packed, and they were out there in the dark because it's the West Coast. It's early out there, 3 hours earlier. And I loved what he said. He's like, we got doctors, we got engineers, we got economists, we got real tests with real implications happening, and all these people, he said something else, all these people said, give me college game day, and I absolutely love that. I mean, Cal was Stanford's rival, but honestly, like I never felt real animosity towards Cal fans. I honestly just feel like a fondness to them more than anything, because like, I don't know, they're like our nerdy counterpart in the Bay Area.
Hey, Nerd Nation, represent.
Yeah, they're a nerdy counterpart.
You just said the word fondness towards Cal. Yeah, this makes sense. You're very nice about that. You would never expect the college game day rivalry to produce the word fondness.
Yes.
But here we are.
Yes, anyways. But it was like honestly so fun for me to get to see those Cal students show out like that and really represent West Coast football. And Pat said something else too, which cracked me up. He's like, it's foggy. I think there's skunks that died down the street, but this is awesome. Like, yep, that is Berkeley. It is a little bit gross there, but you know what? I love that they showed up. And okay, I will say though, there was this one clip that Stanford Steve, he's a producer at ESPN, said, which I'm going to read here. He goes, I wonder how many of these people are here because they didn't get into Stanford. And I was like, ooh, like, Steve, like, that was a really low blow. And then Nick Saban goes, if it was so great at Stanford, why did you have a girlfriend at Cal?
Yes, I saw that, and my jaw dropped. I was like, Coach said that?
Yes.
That was a witty thing to say, and you couldn't really hear the audio of the crowd in the back, but man, like, they must have absolutely loved it.
Yes, they loved that. Also, the signs were top tier. I think we have a couple that we're going to show here in just a minute, but like one that stood out to me was, we only do lines of code. I was like on the ground. I was like, that is so funny. There were a couple others. Like, of course, there was we're blocking the library. Oh, somebody had a notebook that he was holding up that was like, I didn't have time to make a sign because I was studying. Yeah. That was a good one.
And it's honestly like, people might be like, oh, nerd versus nerd, you know, whatever. But like, that's something to be proud of. Like, you're talking about how intelligent you are. And I think it's cool that you can kind of like, they can make jokes about that. Yeah. But it's like something to take pride in. It's like, yeah, like, I do care about my school. I do care about this. And we're playing football. Like, we have a big matchup. Like, it's something, it's exciting.
Speaking of academic powerhouses in football, I want to use the word powerhouse carefully. Like, I mean, like, academically, the powerhouse.
Schools that are playing football.
Speaking of academic schools that are playing football, although who knows, maybe this year they will be a powerhouse, is Vandy. They beat number 2 ranked Alabama 40-35, and those students had the best time. Like, you saw them carrying the goalposts down. They carried it all the way down Broadway, threw it in the river.
I mean, come on. Like, I wish I was there for that moment. And I don't even go to Vandy, okay? Like, I don't even go there. But I was on a run in Nashville this summer, and I started at the Vanderbilt campus, and I ran to the end of Broadway. I didn't get to the river. I just ran to the end of Broadway. And it was hot. I was a little tired. I was like, whew, that was a solid run. Like, I'm good for the day. Those students carried it from the stadium on campus to the river. That was even further than the street of Broadway. So there must have been a crazy amount of hands on those goalposts, because that's not light at all.
After just tailgating the whole day, I was thinking, I'm glad they did it, but I would be going somewhere else. I'd probably stop on Broadway and like, I don't know.
You'd be like, hey, everybody, guess what just happened? Well, there was a video of a guy. It was like a selfie video. He's like, I don't even go here, but like, go Commodores, you know, whatever. It was so funny and just cool to see that. I think anyone, regardless of whether or not you're a Vanderbilt fan, can just really share in that joy and share in that moment for that whole city.
Yeah, and I know that you actually pointed out the Diego Pavia interview afterwards. I know there was something in that as well that stuck out to you, right?
Yeah, he basically exposed Alabama and their players for talking some smack during the coin toss, which, it's football, okay? In all sports, trash talk happens. So this is probably nothing unique to this specific matchup, especially it being a game that no one thought Vanderbilt was going to lose. But it just shows you something about the culture of these Vanderbilt players. Like, you want to offend us, you want to come in our house and talk smack to us, they're like, that's not how it's going to go. So just something to note about the Vanderbilt team.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I don't necessarily think, like, it did seem just in the way that Pavia was speaking about it in that conference that when Alabama was talking to them, he's like, yeah, they made it seem like we were an FCS school. It was almost like they were overlooking Vandy to an extent, which, you know, makes sense given how Vandy has done in the past. But they beat, Missouri was also part of the Week 5 massacre, as I'm calling it. But they took Missouri to double OT the week before. So it's like, this could be a competitive Vandy team. And unfortunately, you know, they do play in the SEC. So it's like, you got tough teams every single weekend. But I wouldn't overlook this Vandy team. It seems like they are definitely here to compete. And now nobody will. After beating number 2 ranked Alabama, I don't think anybody will. But truly, I just love the fact that 2 academic schools in Cal and Vandy were like the highlight of college football Twitter over the weekend.
Now they're so like, fun. we got it all. Yes. We got the smarts and we got the sports.
Yes.
It's exciting.
Yes. So also going on around the same time is the WNBA Finals. So we just got through the semifinals. The Lynx beat the Sun last night in Game 5, so the Lynx will be playing the Liberty in the championship round. So 5 games championship. And yes. And anyways, the Lynx beat the Suns in game 5. So they set up a 1 versus 2 showdown between the Liberty and the Lynx for the finals. And that's what you want, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you want the top 2 teams to be there at the end of this, right? You don't want it to be and like, there's some great stories, right? Like, obviously, if Caitlin Clark was able to lead the Fever somehow to the finals, like, that would have been so great. Or if it was, I don't know, like, even if it was the Sun were able to get back there and hopefully win it after coming up short in 2019 and 2022, that would have been another great season. Or the Aces going for a 3-peat. But really what you want at the end of the day is the top 2 teams going head-to-head.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I was up late watching that game, and my mom was next to me. She was kind of falling asleep. I was like, come on, we got to watch the end of this, even though that Lynx-Sun game, it was pretty obvious that it was going to be the Lynx. But no, like, to see the Liberty have the chance to get revenge, right? I think that's a huge storyline here for this team. But also on the other side of it, I think you can play coming off of a season where you lose in that big game. You can also kind of put that behind you in a sense, be like, regardless, we want to win this whether or not we were in that game last year, right? And so this New York team has never won a championship. This franchise has never won a championship. So they're playing for themselves to get that win and have that accomplishment, but they're also playing for this organization and the fan base, which is like a really cool and powerful thing to happen.
Yeah, I think especially for New York, which they were one of the original teams in the WNBA. They've been to the championship 5 times and have never won it. Like, these players want it so badly for this team as well. So that's such a great storyline. Another great storyline with it being obviously the number 2 Minnesota Lynx. They were 19 and 21 last year, and only 5 players returned heading into this year. And they're back into the finals for the first time since 2017. So many great players here to root for. And Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier. I mean, I know it's not like the star or some of the stars that people have been talking about all season long if you're just a casual WNBA fan. But truly so great. We're excited for them. And quickly, because we're getting the wrap here, we got to get to our wins of the week.
Okay, we could talk WNBA all day.
Yeah, we could, but we got to move along here. So my win of the week, Viking safety Cameron Byram picked off Aaron Rodgers in their win over the Jets in London this past weekend, and he had this celly that took the internet by storm.
We should have practiced it. We should have done it on the show. Oh, no.
It was the Parent Trap celly. So he
We're gonna get this down and do it one episode.
Yeah, so Cameron Bynum did it with Josh Metellus. They did the handshake from the Parent Trap, and it was the perfect, like, gesture for them playing in London as well, because obviously the Parent Trap, half of that movie takes place in London. And I just thought, first of all, it was perfectly executed, flawless execution, so well done. So yeah, he said he watched the movie the week before, which is when the light bulb for him went off. He said, like, it's one of his favorite movies, actually.
Random. Yeah, random.
I could not believe it, but Parent Trap is one of his favorite movies, so loved that. And you know what? Keep it going. Do more of those. I like it.
I love it. Well, that was a great one of the week. And when I saw that was going to be your win of the week, I was like, oh, I wish I would have done that. So that was good. But I also have another football win of the week. Chiefs versus Saints in Kansas City. After the game, Patrick Mahomes is talking to Lisa Salters, and she says, hey, thanks, Patrick. And then he's about to go away, and she's like, hey, just one more thing. Hey, Sterling, go to bed, which is his daughter. And I just thought that was so sweet and so cute, because it really brings that more, like, personal aspect back into football, into a really intense stage, right? Like, a lot's on the line. This is the team that all eyes are on. Can they 3-peat? All the things. And so I just love that moment and thought it was really cute.
Would that have worked on you if your dad did that when he was playing football?
Probably not. I'd be so jacked up, like, let's go. I just got a shout out. So no, I don't think I would have. And you know what? My mom did let me. I was the oldest child, so I was allowed to go to a lot of those late night games. You know, they probably end at 11 our time out in Seattle. And so I did get lucky. I didn't have to stay home for too many late night games, but I probably would have been jacked up if he said go to bed.
Yes, definitely. Well, with that, thank you so much for watching another episode of Respect Her Game, and we will be back next week.